are fucking cool and you become friends with them. But for the most part, these headliners are like, fuck, I don't care if 3 people show up. I'm getting a guarantee, or I ain't even going out on stage. I'm getting $2,500 for the night. So it's like, they, then you got the bands who will promote it on Facebook and we're coming to town and this and that. And then you got the bands who just take the fucking money and don't give 2 shits.
And go.
Right.
Yeah. And, another thing, the whole situation is so fucked up. I don't understand, you've got promoters that know that certain bands are going to be on tour. Okay, it's not like it's a fucking surprise that when, Veil of Maya, for instance, puts out a new album, they're not going to just put out a new album and then okay, cool, whatever. No, they're going to go on tour. And when you're in a market like the Tampa, Orlando, maybe Miami, and then DFW, New York, there are certain places that these bands are going to go to regardless.
Right.
In Texas, we have 2 big areas, probably 3. We have the DFW Metroplex, we've got Austin, and we have Houston. So out of those 3 areas, touring band A is going to come to one of those places regardless.
Right.
It's too big a market to ignore. Knowing that, you can say, hey, what's your tour schedule like? Blah, blah, blah. You're playing Houston on April 5th. Why don't you come, the night before and play Fort Worth, and we'll give you $1,500. That's your gas for the entire trip for the whole Texas trip. But no, you've got promoters out there. We'll give you $50 million. Come play. They overpay, and then they wonder why they're not making any money, and putting it on the locals to pick up the slack.
And then the bar owners or the venue owners get pissed because there's no one in there buying the fucking drinks. Because there was a place down the block from me called Bourbon Street, Newport Richey, Florida. Man, this guy used to bring every fucking national band through, but the county used to bust his balls and make it impossible to do business. Snoop Dogg was coming to town, and they really didn't want him coming here for some reason. So they told him, oh, you got to do this with your fire and shit, and the sprinkler system is only for this capacity. The guy was in business for like fucking 15 years, and all of a sudden they started busting his balls.
Right.
But, I played there when, it was around, and I got involved in that pay-to-play thing once or twice there. It's a pain in the balls. But this guy... he's building stages. He's promoting local bands. He's, of course, we want the people to buy drinks from him when he goes there. Oh, they're like, oh, when you're on stage, you promote the bar. Yeah, well, that's what we're supposed to do. We're playing in this guy's venue. We're not, I want the guy to stay in business so my band can play here in 4 months. You charging fucking the guy $7,500 to bring fucking LA Guns here. You better pack the fucking place out. I mean, they always did, but it just depends on the promoter and the length he wants to go to. If he just wants to bring names and attach local bands and let them sell the tickets, I never did a show for that fucking guy again. I never would.
Right.
There's so many people out there that this was brought up on a show a couple of shows back where. As soon as I said it, the guy knew who I was talking about because he's local. He's like, "Yep, that's the same asshole." We don't even have to say the name; we just know.
Right.
It's just one of those things, and that's what's got to get around. I mean, I don't really deal with promoters on the show because I deal directly with the bands. I don't deal with agents. I get those people involved. I don't even want to have you on my show because that's a whole nother thing. I represent this guy. I'm not going to get anywhere with you. So if you're not willing to talk to me as an artist, I'm not willing to have you on the air. Okay, so I understand that the guy from the drummer that was in Guns N' Roses wants to come on the show and talk to me. But we can't seem to coordinate it. Okay, that I can understand I have to deal with a representative for. But to me, to deal with a representative, to not have my show promoted is ridiculous. I have you on, you're going to say, hey man, I called into this show tonight about this here, check it out. You're going to put it out there. I could get the guy, Big R. I like to keep it in the middle. I have a little mix of everybody because I know I get the types of Chris Cornell and this and that. I can get you at NAMM. I can get you here. It's not going to do anything for me. No one's going to listen to it if no one puts it out there besides me. So it's the
Right.
same way. And I would never charge a band to be on the show. People are like, yeah, how much is it to get on? I go, I don't do that. I don't play those games. I don't take money to put you on.
Isn't that illegal though? Isn't that illegal, that payola business? Didn't they outlaw that shit so many years ago?
It is, and that's another thing, because there's this whole royalty thing now with the internet where they raise the royalty fees. FM stations haven't been paying fucking royalties for I don't know how long. And now they're trying to get internet. And this is the only way for people to get promoted now. It only helps the bands. There's loopholes that I know that I can get. I can get around anything when it comes to paying royalties or whatever the case may be. There's, this stuff is for promotional purposes only. I pay for 95% of my music. Just like if someone put your band on YouTube, you have to send me cease and desist order so I can desist. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Cease and desist. Yeah.
What makes me any different? I mean, everything is, when you're doing the broadcasting like this through a big company, everything's there, but they're trying to nickel and dime it. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the bigger radio corporations are behind it to squash the little guy to make them that much more powerful. I mean, because
go ahead.
I'm getting a very small share, and that's the equivalent of what you're getting as a local band paying the play. And payola is illegal in the radio industry, but there are bands that will push radio stations are low on advertising. They can't charge half as much based on ratings. Because ever since the shit with the FCC and Janet Jackson and Howard Stern leaving terrestrial radio, it put a hurting on the system. So they have to think of ways to take over the market again. And they figure, well, if we squash the little guy and get rid of them, we're going to become bigger. But it's just, everybody wants to go after the little guy, and we're doing more work. So they should want to pick up these shows. But again, it's all relative. I used to do my show MP3 only. So you would have to go to the site and click on it, and it would just play. It would look like a player. It really wasn't. It was just an MP3 file, and when you clicked on the player, it just played the MP3. All I got to do is go back to that. And then you would actually have to listen to the show to see who I played instead of looking at a list on my broadcast unit to see who I played. But it's just a pain in the ass. I mean, they force these bands to, if you want us to pay royalties, we're not going to let you play our Jingle Ball Fest and this and that, and we're not going to spin your band on the radio. And that's how Limp Bizkit got started. They paid like $5,000 to get their shit in rotation on a radio station, and it got picked up all over the country. That's how it happened for them. And that's not how it should happen. It should be, like everybody else. If that was the game, anybody can do it. I guess if you're making a donation, there's loopholes for everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm not paying you to put my band on it, but I do see that, you've got this, need for a new floor in your building. Let me take care of that for you, just because I feel like I'm being a good guy.
Right.
Oh, by the way, here's their new album. Yeah.
Yep. Or you just become tight with the stations and whatnot. But
yeah, I mean, just one thing when networking and talking to you, calling in your internet DJ and whatnot, and shooting shit, and then that's one thing. I don't have a problem with that. But this whole here's $5,000 to get Limp Bizkit, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, that was a waste of $5,000.
Right. I mean, it worked for them.
I think it worked for them, but I want some money out of it, because I had to endure Fred Durst for that, however long they were.
I mean, I'll admit, the first time I heard him, I was like, all right, these guys are different, whatever. Again, it's like what I was talking about with the guys in 1,000 Pound South. There's always someone to goof on. There's always that Nickelback. So, But, bands have enough of a struggle now, besides competing with promoters and and then paying to get on the radio, and now they're trying to shut down
Yeah.
internet radio. It's like, you know what? They're doing this because of Spotify and shit like that. I have music out there. I don't get royalties. I know it's on there. I've done a test. I've had like 1,700 people go to the specific site and play the song, and I never seen a dime from it. I don't
Right.
I don't complain about it because the song, you know, the song I put out there, so you would be interested in the band and come to a show and buy a shirt, buy the actual CD.
Right. Yeah.
Take
exactly.
the MP3 at this point, steal it, do whatever. It's like the thing where Metallica was going to sue the cover band, and then they made up the story like, oh, it was the lawyer. No, you know it was them, and they're just backtracking because of the bad press.
Here's the thing. This is where I get on. This is where I get on with the whole Metallica thing. They've never. I mean, they've never gone after tribute or cover bands before. They've never done it, and they've actually had a couple. I can't remember if it was Battery or who. I can't remember which one it was, but they've had a couple of tribute bands open up for them. They're like, dude, you guys are awesome. Do your thing. So this whole thing about when they came out with our lawyer was being over ambitious. This is one of the few times where I don't think they were trying to subvert or pass the buck. I think they're being honest there because they've never had a problem with tribute bands. Never.
But I don't know if it was because maybe those bands were paying them the licensing fees. I don't know. So, yeah, I guess I could side with you on that too. I mean, you can look at it both ways, but they may have had if they really weren't. But their lawyer is a pain in the ass because early on in my show, I don't think Metallica would come after me for playing songs, but they tried to say they didn't want me playing the music anymore. But that was the lawyer. Yeah. I knew he was watching the show, and then I played it one more time and never played it again. I'm like, what are you going to get from me for playing a song?
Yeah, really. Right. I mean,
I don't have anything that you can take that Metallica fucking wants. You want to come in and see my jet ski? I mean, really, come on. I played your song for promotion. Give me a fucking break. But no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. They have worked and have put them on their festival, so you definitely have a valid point there, whether they had the licensing agreement or not. I know people do license. That's why people don't want to do cover songs. And when you see a cover song on a CD that's not listed, it's not listed for the simple fact is that band didn't pay for it.
Right.
Because you have to pay for however many copies. Like when my friend's band put a cover on the CD, they have to give him 25 cents of the whoever wrote the song for however many copies they made. So if they printed 10,000 copies, they had to pay him 25 cents for every one of those copies they printed, not sold. So, but when it's hidden as a hidden track, they didn't pay for it, and that's one of the deals there. But you definitely have a valid point because I think it was Battery, and then back in the day there was the cover band Alcoholica. So, yeah, I mean they worked with them pretty close. So, I mean, who knows? They got so much money, I wouldn't even think that something like that would be on their radar. But it's not the first time I heard someone say a bigger band was coming after them for playing the song. So
yeah, and when you're that big, when you're Led Zeppelin big, Metallica big, they've got more people. It's not like James Hetfield sat down and said, "Hey, what the fuck, man?" You know what I mean? There are so many people that are looking out because it's a business. It's a big business. They're not necessarily. They're not really. That lawyer wasn't looking out for Metallica's best interest. That lawyer was looking out for Two Prime's best interest or his own best interest. This could cost me money, so I need to do something about it.
It was funny because I watched videos from that Shiprocked or one of those cruises with the band, and they did an all-star thing and they played a Metallica song, and I was so tempted to write, "You're going to hear from my attorneys about this on the It's just funny. But you never know, I mean, really. But man, if someone would play one of my fucking songs, if I was standing in a bar, I'd be like, God damn, I'm impressed just the fact that you want to play it.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, pay to play fucking sucks.
Yes, it does.
It does, and that's one of the reasons why I feel relief that I don't really play in a band anymore. But I do have the urge to do it again. It's just I don't know when I'm going to find the time, man. My job and shit stresses me out.
Yeah.
All that crap. But
just go do a Guns N' Roses tribute band thing.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, you see that shit? Did Ricky get VIP tickets for, $2,500?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's, put a second mortgage out on his house so he can go to Coachella and get his VIP experience.
They announced 2 Vegas